Okay, so in this video, we are going to be seeing what double angle formulas look like for sine, cosine, and tangent. So to start off, you have your parent equations, which you will use to solve each problem. These are our parent equations for double angle. You have your sine, which is 2 cosine x times sine x. Cosine, which is cosine squared x minus sine squared x. And tangent, which is 2 tangent x over 1 minus tangent squared x. Okay, so the first problem that we're going to be doing today is sine x equals 5 over 13, and x is in quadrant 1. So the only thing that means is x is your cosine. So your final answer, your cosine should be positive, not negative, because in quadrant 1, both your x's and your y's are positive. Since our parent equation is sine x equals 2 cosine x sine x, to solve it, we need to have this cosine x also, because we only have sine right now. So to do that, you have to use your unit circle equation, which is x squared plus y squared equals 1. And in this, your x is cosine and your y is sine. So then you can just start plugging it in and solve it just like any other algebraic equation. So you have x squared plus, you know your y, which is sine. So it's 5 over 13 squared equals 1. And we want to solve for x. That's our unknown variable in this. So to do that, you have to subtract, you have to isolate it. So subtract your y's from both sides, and you are left with x squared equals 1 minus 5 over 13 squared. When you're squaring a fraction, you just square the numerator and you square the denominator. So this changes to 1 minus 25 over 169. And this is still x squared equals. I'm just going to go up here because I'm out of room. So you're left with x squared equals, this 1 down here can transform into 169 over 169, because that's just equal to 1, and then you can subtract the 2. So you have 169 over 169 minus your y squared over 169, and so that equals 144 over 169, and this is not your final answer because you still have this x squared over here. So you have to take the square root of this, and you just square root the numerator, square root the denominator. So you're left with x equals 12 over 13. And with that, we can go back up here to our equation, because you now know both sine and cosine, so we can solve. So now that we have our sine and our cosine, we can start plugging it into our equation. So we have sine of 2x equals 2, your cosine x, so 12 over 13, times your sine x, 5 over 13. Then after that, you're going to multiply your fractions first. So you still have this 2, that carries down. So 12 times 5 is 60. And then 13 times 13 is 169. So now you multiply this fraction by your 2. And you're left with sine of 2x equals 120 over 169. This 169 right here did not change because up here it's like you're multiplying it by 2 over 1. So 2 times 60 is 120 and 1 times 169 is 169. And so this is your final answer for sine of x equals 5 over 13. And that's how you solve for sine of 2x with a double angle formula. Okay, so now that we know how to solve for sine, we're going to learn how to solve for cosine. So our problem is going to be cosine x equals 4/5. Going back to the beginning of the video, our formula for cosine is cosine 2x equals cosine squared x minus sine squared x. And so we know our cosine. Our cosine is given to us up here, but we don't know our sine. So that's what we're going to have to solve for first, just like we solved for cosine in the last part of the video. So you're going to come over here with your unit circle equation. X squared plus y squared equals 1. Last time we were solving for x squared, but now we're going to be solving for this y squared. So you have your x, which is 4/5. And you have 4/5 squared plus y squared equals, I'm just going to change this now. So this 1 turns into 25 over 25 because that's the equivalent of 1 in the fraction form. Okay, so now that we have our cosine and our sine, we can plug them into the equation and solve for cosine of 2x. So cosine squared x is equal to 4/5 squared, and sine squared x is equal to 3/5, so you can do minus 3/5 squared. And then square your numerator, square your denominator. Then these have like denominators, so you can go ahead and do your subtraction. And so you're left with cosine of 2x equals 7/25. And that is your answer for cosine of x equals 4/5 using the double angle formula for cosine. Okay, the last equation that we're going to be learning how to solve is for tangent, and that is going to be with tan x equals negative 4/3, and x is in quadrant 2. The only thing that this x in quadrant 2 means is if you had to solve for cosine and sine individually, cosine would be negative because of its placement. So you have your 1, 2, 3, 4. These are your quadrants. In quadrant 1, they are x and y are both positive. Quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive. Quadrant 3, they are both negative. In quadrant 4, just y is negative. So if we're solving for sine and cosine, you would have to make sure that you follow this rule and that your final answer for cosine is negative. Okay. So our parent equation for tangent for double angle is tan 2x equals 2 tan x over 1 minus tangent squared x. So to start out, we know our tangent, negative 4/3, so we can just start plugging this into the equation. I'm going to go ahead and do this multiplication right here. So that is equivalent to 2 over 1 times negative 4/3, and that equals negative 8/3, because you multiply across the top and you multiply across the denominator. So you have negative 8/3 over, you're left with negative 8 over 3 over 1 minus negative 4 over 3 squared. I'm going to go up here where I have some more room. Negative 4 over 3 squared is just 16 over 9. So you're left with negative 8 over 3 over 1 minus 16 over 9. Because you square the top and you square the bottom. And this 1 can be rewritten as 9 over 9. So we're left with negative 8 over 3 over 9 over 9 minus 16 over 9. From there, we can do the subtraction on the bottom. And then to get rid of these fractions in the numerator and the denominator, we can multiply the top by the denominator. So 3 over 3. And that equals negative 24, because 8 times 3, over 9, because 9 times 9. And so that leaves us with equivalent denominators. So you have negative 7/9 over here. That just transferred from here to here. And so these 9's are both in denominator, so we can cross them out. And that leaves you with negative 24 over negative 7. These negatives cancel each other out. And so you're left with tan of 2x equals 24 over 7. And that is how you solve for tangent using the double angle formula for tangent.